Picture this. You're at a party nursing a lukewarm beer when suddenly Brenda from accounts launches into a detailed recount of her bunion surgery. You try to politely excuse yourself, but Brenda's on a roll, brandishing toe picks like war medals. Sound familiar? We've all been there. This, my friends, is a classic case of breached boundaries. Boundaries, in a nutshell, are the invisible lines we draw to protect our physical, emotional, and mental space. They're the difference between enjoying a pleasant conversation and wanting to crawl under the buffet table. Think of them as your personal force field against unwanted intrusions, be it Brenda's bunions or your mate borrowing a tenner and conveniently forgetting to pay you back. Now, I'm not saying you need to become a hermit crab, retreating into your shell at the slightest interaction. Boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about creating healthy, respectful relationships. They're about feeling comfortable saying no without feeling guilty, and about respecting others' boundaries in return. So buckle up, buttercups, because we're about to embark on a hilarious yet informative journey into the wonderful world of boundaries. By the end, you'll be wielding those invisible lines like a pro, dodging awkward encounters and living your best life. Let's be honest, our first encounters with boundaries, or lack thereof, often start at home. Growing up, our families lay the groundwork for how we perceive and interact with the world, and let's just say, some families could use a crash course in boundary setting. Take, for example, the classic oversharing parent. You know the type, the ones who divulge every detail of their marital spats over Sunday roast, leaving you feeling like you need therapy and a strong drink, or the overprotective parents who call you every 5 minutes when you're out with friends as if you're going to spontaneously combust if left unsupervised. These dysfunctional family dynamics can leave us with some pretty warped ideas about boundaries. We might find ourselves oversharing, people-pleasing, or struggling to say no for fear of rocking the boat. But here's the good news. Just because you grew up in a boundary-challenged household doesn't mean you're destined to repeat the cycle. Recognizing these patterns is the first step towards breaking free and establishing healthy boundaries of your own. Right, let's get down to brass tacks. What exactly are boundaries, and why should you care? Think of boundaries as your own personal set of rules for engagement. They're the guidelines you set for how you want to be treated by others, physically, emotionally, and mentally. These boundaries can be as diverse as a Sean P. Combs documentary. You might have boundaries around your time. Sorry, mate, can't make it to your interpretive dance recital. Got a hot date with Netflix. Your personal space, please don't eat my chips, or your emotional energy. No, I don't want to hear about your ingrown toenail. Now, why are these boundaries so important, you ask? Well, for starters, they're essential for your mental health. Having clear boundaries helps you avoid burnout, reduces stress, and prevents you from feeling resentful. It's about protecting your energy and prioritizing your well-being, but it's not just about you. Respecting other people's boundaries is equally crucial for building healthy, sustainable relationships. It shows that you value their needs and are willing to meet them halfway. After all, nobody likes a boundary bulldozer. Before you go around brandishing your boundary stick, it's crucial to identify what your boundaries actually are. This might seem like a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised how many people go through life feeling vaguely uncomfortable without pinpointing why. Start by paying attention to those little niggles, those moments when you feel your internal alarm bells going off. Do you feel drained after spending time with a particular person? Do you dread certain types of conversations? These are all clues pointing you towards your boundaries. Another helpful tip is to reflect on past experiences where you felt disrespected, taken advantage of, or simply not heard. What were the circumstances? What were your needs in that situation? Remember, boundaries are deeply personal. What feels like a reasonable boundary to one person might seem outrageous to another, and that's perfectly fine. The key is to figure out what works for you and to own it. Congratulations! You've identified your boundaries. Now comes the tricky part, communicating and enforcing them. This is where things can get a bit awkward, especially for us Brits, who are culturally conditioned to apologize for breathing. But fear not, my friends, because I'm about to equip you with some verbal weaponry to navigate those tricky boundary conversations. First and foremost, embrace the power of no. It's a complete sentence, and you don't need to justify or apologize for it. If saying no directly feels too confrontational, try using I statements. For example, instead of saying "you're always asking me to do your work," try "I feel overwhelmed when I'm constantly being asked to take on extra tasks." This shifts the focus from blaming the other person to expressing your own needs and feelings. Another helpful tactic is setting clear expectations up front. For instance, if a friend has a habit of borrowing money and never returning it, you might say, "I'm happy to lend you a tenner, but please make sure you can pay me back by next week." And remember, enforcing boundaries is an ongoing process. Don't be afraid to reiterate your boundaries or adjust them as needed. Now let's add another layer of complexity to this boundary business, shall we? Culture. Just as you wouldn't wear your best Union Jack trousers to a yoga retreat, you can't expect the same boundary etiquette to fly in every culture. Take, for example, our American cousins. They're big on personal space, often needing a wider berth than a double-decker bus to feel comfortable. So, while a friendly pat on the back might seem innocuous to us Brits, it could send an American running for the hills. On the other hand, in some Mediterranean cultures, physical touch is as common as tea and biscuits. So don't be alarmed if your Italian mate greets you with a bear hug and a kiss on both cheeks. The key here is to be mindful and respectful of cultural differences. When in doubt, observe how others interact and take your cues from them. So there you have it. Your crash course in boundary setting. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it? We've explored the importance of boundaries, delved into the murky waters of family dynamics, and armed ourselves with the verbal tools to navigate tricky conversations. Now, I'm not going to lie, mastering boundaries takes practice. You might stumble, you might fumble, you might even accidentally tell Brenda about your weird dream involving a badger and a tuba. But stick with it, my friends, because the benefits are well worth the effort. Setting and enforcing boundaries will not only improve your relationships, but also boost your self-esteem and reduce stress. You'll feel more in control of your life, your time, and your emotional well-being. You'll finally be able to enjoy that lukewarm beer at a party without dreading Brenda's next toe-related anecdote. And trust me, your sanity will thank you for it. So go on, be the light in the darkness, set those boundaries and reclaim your peace. And if you found this guide helpful, please like and subscribe for more content.